My name is Jessie Burkhoff. My debate today will be focusing on e-waste, what it is, and how it is having a harmful and severe effect on the developing nations targeted as a dumping ground for this waste. As far as prioritizing environmental action or economic development in the global political sphere, this is difficult because both are very important and necessary. However, taking preventative measures can protect our environment for years and years to come, which in result will encourage and prompt opportunities for the development of growing nations. Globalization continues to evolve and further influence all corners of the world, so we must grow and change with it and bring all citizens of the world to an overall healthier, safer, and more educated global society. That being said, none of this can happen without an environmentally secure planet. The Earth is our only home, and if we continue to keep harming it at the levels we are, there won't be any more growing nations to develop. The Western world is infatuated with the latest and greatest technological advances, which as a result is producing millions of tons of these discarded electronics as people upgrade to a newer model. Computers, for example, contain toxic materials such as zinc, nickel, and lead, to name a few, which is why it is crucial to properly recycle these materials and prevent the possibility of toxic metal leaking into the air and water supply. Unfortunately, computers are most commonly thrown away, with only 9% of the 5.3 billion pounds of e-waste actually recycled, according to a study by the EPA. One specific instance of this e-waste was seen in the documentary Digital Dumping Ground, which we were assigned in class. This outlines a slum outside of Ghana's largest city, located in the Corley Lagoon, which is one of the most polluted bodies of water on Earth. In this documentary, there's a 13-year-old boy who works in the digital dumping ground and shows the documentary people around amongst the piles of e-waste from Western countries where young children play and work. There are hundreds of millions of tons each year that contain toxic substances. These children will burn through the plastic to melt it down and collect parts, inhaling that toxic air. Young children will play soccer amongst the garbage. The footage in the documentary was shocking and disappointing that these sort of practices are ever permitted by any developed, powerful nation. Ghana's citizens thought the U.S. was donating shipments of electronics to lessen the technological gap between them and the West, which ended up not being the case. People sort through the garbage to sell scraps of copper and iron to markets, and criminals can look through discarded hard drives that still contain personal information of the previous owners and use that to their own advantage. Another example of the impacts of e-waste, amongst many, is in Pakistan. Around 13% of e-waste generated worldwide yearly is sent to Pakistan. People who work in these conditions daily to sell the discarded product face health risks as serious as neurological damage from being around the harmful toxins such as lead and mercury, with most of those affected being young children scavengers, similar to Ghana. Lack of knowledge of the health and environmental risks involved has been blamed for Pakistan's shortage of rules and regulations for this process. One positive to this, according to Asif Khan, the Director General of the Pakistan Environmental Protection Agency, is that many foreign countries have expressed interest in working in the recycling industry by reusing the e-waste if the business is given legal clearance through proper legislation. Through this, Pakistan could earn millions as well as create thousands of jobs and minimize health risks. This is a great example of how protecting the environment and using safe practices as a top priority can benefit and be positive to development as well. There has been international laws in place regulating the flow of hazardous waste from industrialized nations to developing ones since 1989 when the Basel Convention was passed. There was even an amendment in 1995 outlawing the exporting of e-waste to other countries. 172 nations have ratified this UN-backed treaty, not including the United States, however, who is the world's largest e-waste producer. Under the terms of this treaty, industrialized nations must require that their manufacturers provide take-back programs for all electronics produced. The EU has also instated a ban on a number of toxic substances used in the production of electronics. The US, however, the world's largest e-waste producer, has fallen under criticism for their very few regulations and some of the worst recycling practices of any developed nation. According to the Environmental Protection Agency website, there is work being done to address the e-waste problem as well as tracking global flaws. One of the biggest issues for powerful nations that still send out their e-waste is the desire to cut the cost of recycling. However, prioritizing economic sustainment and success is more hazardous to development than these wasteful nations realize, as long-term effects can greatly outweigh the cost of being responsible now. Not only are these landfills of toxic waste harmful on our environment, they also reduce opportunities of success for developing nations. The areas of waste that are being The areas that this waste is being sent to are already deeply impoverished and underdeveloped, so the West forcing them to live, work, and play amongst these hazardous garbage piles is setting them up for failure. By implementing and enforcing better recycling techniques, we can prioritize our environment while still creating jobs and a better living situation for those in need.